A new hobby comes with lingos and terms to learn, but when it comes to aquariums and fish keeping, it can be downright confusing and overwhelming. Today, we're going to go through common aquarium lingos and acronyms, figure out what it all means, and get you on your way to talking like a pro fish keeper. Hi, I'm Chris from Scallywags Fish Bowl, and today we're reviewing aquarium terminology. We're going to start with the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle refers to a biological process, so a living process, where bacteria convert ammonia into nitrite and then converts that nitrite into nitrate. This isn't a one and done step. This is a continuous process that's always happening. There are 4 parts to the nitrogen cycle. The first part is ammonia is introduced into the tank when your fish go to the bathroom in there. Ammonia is converted into nitrites, which is the second part. Nitrites aren't quite as toxic as ammonia, but nitrates in your tank will still kill your inhabitants. In the third step, nitrites are converted into nitrates, which are the least harmful and also the end of the nitrogen cycle. Those nitrates are pretty safe, but over time, they'll build up to a level that is not safe and will start to cause injury and illness or even death. So we need to add a 4th step, which is managing our nitrate. 2 common methods for removing nitrates are water changes. This means removing water from the tank and replacing it with dechlorinated water, which will dilute the nitrates that are left in the tank. Kind of like when you top off your coffee, but you don't add more creamer. So the creamer to coffee ratio in your cup is really weak. It's the same thing for nitrates when you dilute that with new water. Aquarium plants are a second method. So live aquarium plants need nutrients to grow, and your fish make nutrients. Floating plants are especially helpful at using up nitrate in the tank. A few other terms you might hear are ammonia spike. This is when your tank's been testing at 0 ammonia, but now it's testing above 0. The cycle or cycling your tank is the process when your tank goes through the nitrogen cycle and creates the beneficial bacteria. Now, a fishless cycle is a way of cycling your tank using bottled ammonia or waste without live fish in the tank. A fish in cycle is a way of cycling your tank with live fish in the tank producing ammonia. BB, or beneficial bacteria, this is our new best friend that's invisible. This is the bacteria responsible for converting toxic ammonia into nitrites and then into much safer nitrates. It's microscopic and it lives on all the surfaces in your tank and in your filter. So next up, let's talk about filtration. Your tank filter generally has 2 purposes. Remove debris from the tank and provide surface area for the beneficial bacteria to grow. So let's review some of those terms that you'll run into. Biological filtration. This is the filtration that happens through living organisms, like your beneficial bacteria doing their magic in the nitrogen cycle and the plants eating nutrients, aka nitrates. Mechanical filtration is when you move your tank water through an apparatus, that's the mechanical part, to remove debris. A few examples of mechanical filtration are sponge filters, which use air to pull water through a sponge to trap debris. A hob, or hang-on back filter, which hangs off the back of your tank, just like you'd imagine. It draws water in from the tank, moving it through sponges or media in the filter to trap the debris, and then it sends it back into your tank. A canister filter, it looks like a small lidded trash can that sits next to your tank or under the stand, and it uses hoses to pull and return water from your tank to the canister and back. Canisters hold a lot of media. Chemical filtration means you're using a compound or a chemical to alter your water. An example would be activated carbon. A couple other terms you might hear are filter media. This is the sponge or material that goes inside your filter. It usually needs cleaned or replaced periodically. Bioload is the total amount of waste produced by the tank that needs to complete the nitrogen cycle. So inside your tank, we'll have a few other terms. Substrate is whatever you choose to put on the bottom of the aquarium, like gravel, sand, or aquatic soil. Hardscape is just a fancy word for any decorations you put in the tank, like rocks, wood, or even that sick sunken pirate ship. Line of sight break is when you arrange your hardscape so that fish have objects blocking their view of other fish, because sometimes they're bullies but they don't really think about bullying fish that they can't see. Plants aren't really part of the hardscape, but they are part of the aquascape. Is really just a fancy word for how you've arranged everything that you've put in the tank, and hopefully in a functional way that's nice to look at. So if you've put anything in your tank, congratulations, you're an aquascaper. When it comes to plants, there's 3 types. Artificial plants, which won't help you with your nitrates, but your fish will appreciate them. Bonus is you don't have to think about lighting or nutrients for them. Floating plants live at the top of the water and you don't plant them. These cuties will get their food directly from the water and require a light typically. Some common ones are frogbit and duckweed. Stem plants get planted into the substrate, and they grow roots and leaves from a stalk. They are fed root tabs, which are little fertilizer tablets that you poke down into the substrate. You might see some plants listed as needing CO2 to grow. This is carbon dioxide. Plants use this gas during photosynthesis, and a high-tech setup uses it paired with strong lighting to boost plant growth. A low-tech tank doesn't use CO2 and typically doesn't have a light as strong as the sun. Light is measured in PAR, or photosynthetically active radiation, with a PAR meter, but you likely won't ever have a reason to get one. After you set up your tank, you might start running into algae as your tank balances. A balanced tank means that your nutrient creation and nutrient export are equitable and consistent. Here are some common algae and issues that might tell you there's a nutrient imbalance. Diatom algae is really common in a new tank because it's due to high levels of phosphates and silicates, usually from your substrate. You'll know it's diatom if it looks like someone dusted your whole tank with cinnamon. Green hair algae is long and stringy, and it looks like troll doll hair. It looks like a hot mess, and I think it smells bad, but it's great for shrimp and baby fish, and even for sucking up nitrates. Blackbeard algae is dark, fuzzy, and looks like 70s shag carpet. It grows in clumps on your hardscape and your equipment, and trust me, next to no one wants to snack on it. A bacteria blooms when your water becomes cloudy because of a rapid rise in a bacteria growth. Algae and detritus are not the same thing. Eventually, organic waste like uneaten food, fish waste, and decaying plants will actually accumulate on your substrate. That's called detritus. And if you don't like how it looks, you can vacuum it out when you do a water change. When it comes to the water chemistry itself, there are a lot of acronyms. GH is general hardness. This is a measurement of how much calcium and magnesium is in the water. H is carbonate hardness. It measures how much carbonate and bicarbonate is in the tank. This affects the pH stability. Higher is better for pH stability. pH is potential of hydrogen. It's a measurement of how acidic or basic the water is. 0 to 6 would be acidic, 7 is neutral, 8 to 14 is alkaline. So these 3 measurements, GH, KH, and pH, are important to know because water is different all over the world, and an African cichlid who likes hard water won't thrive in a soft water tank. Your local fish store can typically help you with measuring your water if you bring them a sample, as well as pick out fish that will do well in your water. Buffer is another word we've mentioned, and this is just a substance or a water characteristic that helps resist changes in pH. Crushed coral is a good example of a buffer. TDS means total dissolved solids. This is the way we measure the amount of dissolved substances in your water. RO water is reverse osmosis water. This is highly purified water, and most of the minerals and impurities were removed. And a bonus word, if you're using RO water, you probably remineralize it. This just means put the good stuff back in, but at a level or quantity that you want it at. When it comes to fish, there's quite a few terms there as well. Let's talk about tanks. A community tank is a tank with multiple different species of hopefully peaceful fish. You don't want any bullies in there. A species-only tank has just one type of fish in it. A QT, or a quarantine tank, is a separate tank where you hold your new fish for health observation. This is not meant to house your fish for long term. You just do this for a week or 2 to make sure your new fish are healthy before you put them into your main tank. If your new fish does come down with something, They'll typically be easier to treat in a quarantine tank, and your quarantine tank is typically much smaller than your main tank. So it will be cheaper to treat too because you'll have less water volume. Stocking means choosing and putting fish in your tank. Overstocking means having more fish than typically advised. If your new fish are shy, they might need a dither fish. A dither fish is an outgoing fish that will help shy fish feel safe to come out and swim. Bottom feeders are fish that will eat off the bottom of your tank. If you have bottom feeders, you have to make sure the food reaches them before all the other fish gobble it up. Speaking of fish food, fish typically fall into one of 4 categories. A carnivore is a fish that eats other fish. A herbivore is a fish that eats plant matter. Omnivore is a fish that eats both plant and fish. And a detritivore is a fish that eats detritus. And speaking of detritus, another term you might hear is MULM, which is essentially the same thing as detritus, but it usually means that it has microorganisms living inside of it. When it comes to how fish will repopulate your tank, there are a few terms to know. A live bearer is a fish that gives birth to live, tiny little fish. An egg layer is a fish that lays eggs in your tank, like on the glass or the leaves or the rocks. A mouth brooder is a fish that carries around its eggs in its mouth until they develop into a little fry and they come out swimming. And a fry is just another word that we use for a baby fish. If you've made it to the end, give us a like and a subscribe. It does help out so much. Thank you for joining me for aquarium terms and lingo. Appreciate it. Bye.